One thing I realized early on is that you only get commission for what you've already drawn. It's like, if you've never drawn a tree, no one is going to ask you to draw a tree, which is silly. If you've, so then I realized I kept being asked to draw erotic alphabets, beautiful women, and I was just like, is that going to be my life? Like, am I going to be like, and I also thought, like, if I do that, my career is going to last 5 years, and it's not going to last. Like, and also I'm going to get bored about it. So that's what I was drawing women. At the beginning, it was like women, beautiful women, patterns, trying to add like things here and there. Hats, drew lots of hats, started drawing hats, got commissioned to draw lots of hats, drew more hats. And at some point I was like, this is not working. Like, this is really not working. So I decided I had an idea, and I thought, I'm going to do an exhibition. And I'm going to do what I want to do right now. And at that point, I was like, I really wanted to like play with like very minimal. So instead of the woman being really proeminent, I wanted to play with optical illusions. I was doing colors, so I wanted to go black and white, and for the woman to become a very small narrative thing in the piece. So I put together this pitch, and I sent it to Chemistry Gallery. I don't know if it still exists actually in London, which was a graphic design gallery specifically. And I thought this is the right fit, because I still consider myself to be in between. And I pitched them the idea, and they said, yeah, go for it, pay for it. That also comes with it. We'll give you the dates, and we'll put it on. And I think I got really lucky, because someone canceled the show when I presented. And so basically, I got like London Design Week dates without knowing. Great. The show did really well, and then I was really like, oh my God, I'm breaking out of my shell. I'm remaining in the same style, but I'm doing different things. But then I started being commissioned for stripes. It was just like, pattern, black and white, give me more stripes. I'm not complaining, it was amazing. I got a big job with Sephora, which is all black stripes, kind of made sense. And then that's when I realized, like, oh, okay, I can't stop here. Like, this is the way it's gonna work. It's like, I'm gonna get commissioned for something I've already done, so I need to use some of that money to experiment, whether it's time or putting something together, do new things, which are then going to go in my portfolio, and then I'm going to get commission for those. So then I realized, like, okay, that vicious circle can turn into a virtuous one. It just requires a lot of work. But that was important, and that's what I did. From that point on, I was like, I relaunched my shop. I mean, actually, no, I launched my shop because I didn't have one. But I was like, if it worked as an outlet for airside, it will probably work for me. I need to invest in myself. I need to have this like incentive of producing personal work and things I want to do and not what I'm commissioned to do. And try to do collaborations and try to do things I haven't done before. And so I did this, and it really worked. Like, I started getting commissions from different things and different clients, and it was still the same core style, but I was kind of like adding to it, adding strings to my bow. So Françoise is Françoise Mouly. She's the art director of The New Yorker, specifically of the covers. And so that's Françoise, beautiful. I love Françoise. And she's French, which I actually didn't know. I knew her name, but somehow because she was a New Yorker art director, I didn't realize she was French. And like any illustrator, I think the New Yorker cover was like the graal of illustration. It's like the ultimate goal. But when you're kind of like, yeah, I'll never get that. Like, also because I was in London. But these are some of my favorite New Yorker covers, and I just think they're so brilliant because they really tell such a strong story. They have so much strength, they have so many of them, not all of them as, everyone can find something they like, but they do so many, I really admire it, and every week. And I had been working with a New Yorker at that point, but doing like very small editorial jobs or like maybe inserts, things for the articles inside, and my rule was, when a New Yorker email comes in, you cannot say no. It doesn't matter if you're busy, it doesn't matter you're going to work at night, you're going to say yes. So I started doing everything they were asking me, different art directors. And one day I received an email in French, and I still remember I was at a wedding, it was a Saturday night, I was really drunk. It was about midnight, so probably 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. in New York, and it was in French, and it was saying, I'm the art director of The New Yorker, I like your work. You have done some beautiful illustrations for us, but maybe we could explore the possibility of doing a cover. And I was just like, I still remember that moment where I was like jumping around. Like in my head, I was like, that's it, I have the cover. Even though I didn't, I really didn't. But I thought, yeah. And I called her, I mean, we called each other like the next week, and I was like, okay, so what's being used to editorial cover? What's the brief? What do we have to, what's the brief, what's the theme, whatever. And she was so funny. She was like, oh, there is no brief. It could be anything. Reading, holiday, woman, travel, news. I was like, okay, that's going to be interesting. But that was also a big shift, because then I realized, yeah, that's why the covers are so good, because the actual input comes from the artist. It's what do you want to talk about, and does it align with what's happening at the moment, and does it resonate? Is it going to resonate? And so what I did is I organized myself, finished everything else, took 3 weeks away from work, and started drawing, just like drawing. And I was actually going to like drawing even in colors, and then right at the end of it, so this is a selection, I sent 42 sketches, and by the end of these 3 weeks, like most of them were in color, and I put them all in black and white to pretend they were sketches, and like not to be trying too hard. And yeah. Still, I think she saw it, like she's used to it. And I sent all of that, and I was like, here are a few ideas for covers. And I still remember she replied in like the next half an hour, and she said, I think we'll find something in there. And 2 weeks later, I had my first New Yorker cover, which was called The Page Turner. And so for me, that was a massive achievement, and it was 2016, so I think it was 4 years after I left, 4 years after I started, I became an illustrator, so it was huge, like the pace of it. And then even better, 3 weeks after that, I got an email saying, another one of your sketches is gonna come out next week. So in a month, I had 2 New Yorker covers out there, and it just felt amazing. And so that was the beginning of a very long relationship, one that's extremely important for me. Like, I love Françoise, I love the New Yorker. They are one of the best, I wouldn't even say clients, like collaborators an illustrator can work with, because they respect and value our work. So since then, I've done 13 or 14. I can't remember how much I'm on now. So once in a while, I propose ideas, or she asks me to pitch on ideas. We get to animate them with my animator, which is really fun. And yeah, I just love, like, every time a New Yorker cover comes out, it's a special feeling. It's like being a kid again and getting some really good news. But to get to this 13, 14, that meant I probably sent about like 70 sketches. So again, this is a selection of like, sometimes you send ideas, you're like, I've got all these new ideas, and she's like, yeah, I'm not sure, let's see. But then it could also happen that like 2 years later, she's gonna pull one out of the archive and be like, this works now, like this is, can you work that up and let's publish it. So it's a really exciting way of working for me. And then I got to do the Queen cover. I had to show it because, it's coming back to London, and these were some of the sketches. Like, I know this one is completely inappropriate, but I was like, it made me laugh back then. But this is probably, I'm showing this one because this is probably the fastest cover I've ever done in my life, because literally I got an email, and I was pitching with other artists. They always ask when it's last minute, like probably 3 or 4 people, can you send sketches? But this time it was like, we need sketches in an hour. You have 1 hour. And I remember because I was playing cards with my boyfriend and having wine. And I was like, yeah, I need to start drawing now. So I started drawing, I sent it. She signed off, so the sketch, which was quite pushed. And she said, that's fine, that's going to print now, it's going to be in Twitter in 10 minutes. And I was like, no, Françoise, it's a sketch. It can't get published like this. And she was like, no, it's fine, Malika, it's perfect, it works. So that's the finish. Huh? Can't remember if I even have the sketch. That was also the finish, probably. But like, I'm really perfectionist, and I was, not to say like really anal about illustration. And I told her, please give me some time to kind of clean it up and just refine a little bit. And she told me, you got 40 minutes. If you don't send it to me in 40 minutes, the sketch is going out to the world. And somehow it felt very special, because for me that was London. That represented also, the 15 years I lived in London, and I really wanted that cover. I was like, I really wanted that cover. And I really wanted to do it as like, kind of like a tribute. So I love that one. And also, like, working with a New Yorker, I think helps me also find my voice as an artist, so not in terms of style, but more in terms of like, I realize the power of images, and that even illustration can have social impact and can have impact, and you can thanks to the New Yorker, I realized that I can also voice my opinions and draw things I believe in, and that maybe, it's going to resonate, and maybe it can make a tiny bit of a difference. So that's when I really, started to focus the ideas I was proposing, going into, female empowerment and, really getting in there and putting images that were, celebrating women and celebrating strong women. So these are a few examples. And then I applied that kind of thought process and that kind of intention, which I think was always there, like deep down, because you draw kind of, the way you are, but I started doing it more intentionally. So like, this one called Loves is a pattern for a swimwear brand. And literally I could have drawn anything, but I thought like, wouldn't it be great, to draw something on a, on textile that when you look at it, there is, something else. Like you tell a different story and you tell a story that matters. So this really was a turning point in my life, meeting Françoise. And it took me, I met her at the end of the pandemic, because at some point she got stuck in Paris, and she, we had never met, only spoken over the phone and by email. And one day she told me, I'll be in Paris for the next 3 weeks, and if you happen to come by. And I was like, yeah, I've got a trip planned in 2 weeks. I didn't. I was like, book a ticket, and we went for lunch, and it was really amazing. I mean, she's an amazing woman.